Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So I bet you guys liked that last video where we talked about some of the craziest and most powerful win rate decks in the game. Well, maybe Blizzard didn't, because we got some serious nerfs today. And the way that these nerfs came through is actually unprecedented, which is actually surprising. It's crazy. It's good news for me, I think. Hearthstone's been out over 5 years now. For them to do something like radically different than they had before is a really big deal. So what's nerfed? Let's hear it, Krip. I got you guys. First card nerfed is Wild Growth. Wild Growth has been seeing play in Druid. 2 mana, basically you don't include too many other 2-drops, and you don't really include very many 3-drops either because you go from 2 to 4. Games where you get Wild Growth, you win. Games where you don't get Wild Growth, you lose. So a 1 mana nerf on Wild Growth is a pretty big deal, isn't it? Yes, it is. Does this kill Druid alone? No, but it certainly doesn't help. Most Druid decks from the very beginning include Wild Growth, so Druids are certainly dropping down a little bit in the power levels, right? Wrong. Not just a little bit. A lot of bit. Because the second card is Nourish. Nourish also goes up 1 mana from 5 to 6. Not as big as a nerf as Wild Growth, but still pretty significant. I mean, the one thing that Druid did really well is ramp. I mean, if you guys saw the video we just made the other day, Druid's not in the top 3 classes right now. So Druid's getting slammed. Druid's going to be in rough shape pretty soon. Nourish going to 6 mana. Again, it's not the end of the world standalone, but combined with the Wild Growth nerf, it is sizable. Druid's mana ramp potential has been crippled. It's pretty weak right now to a point where I think most Druids are not going to run both of these cards in every single deck, which is a good thing for the game. It's a good thing for the longevity of Hearthstone because Blizzard's going to actually, give Druid continuous good cards and not have to worry about Druids ramping them out like crazy fast and breaking the game. But for the time being, it appears as if Druids have been ripped. But that's not all. If you think Druids are the only class exiting ladder, best news of the nerfs, boys. Paladin, Odd Paladin, is getting annihilated. It's not that it's a 1 mana nerf on level up, okay? It's not just, from 5 to 6 mana, well, the card was seeing play and it was really good and it's going from, 1 mana cost to 1 mana cost higher. Yeah. No, it's not that at all. You can't use level up in Odd Paladin anymore because it's not odd. The best deck in the game for like a year now has been Odd Paladin. There's been no new cards for like 2 expansions. Still the best deck in the game. Well, this is going to do it, guys. Level up, exiting is going to make Odd Paladin maybe not like terrible, but quite weaker than what we know today. It's going to be a much weaker deck to a point where there's no chance of it being tier 1, maybe somewhere in the midst of tier 2 decks at the very best, I would say. But there is a pretty interesting scenario here. While Level Up is no longer an odd card, it is now an even card. But yeah, at 6 mana, it is notably worse. But there is some chance that Level Up would continue to see play in the even Paladin, which from yesterday's video, I hope you guys learned, is the second best deck in the game. But yes, guys, that deck is getting hit as well with Serenite Chain Gang. So Serenite Chain Gang is not going to be a copy of itself. It's going to be another Serenite Chain Gang. So if you have no buffs, if you have no synergy, Serenite Chain Gang is the same card that it is. Basically, if you play Arena, this card is as good before the nerf as it will be after the nerf. All right, so, no big deal there. But there are some huge implications to this nerf. So, yes, in even Paladin's a little bit worse because, you don't get to, propagate like a double Valinir. In a lot of other decks, maybe like even Shaman, you don't get to have like a doubled up Keleseth buff. So, it's a little bit worse in these Zoo decks. And these Zoo decks have fairly competitive slotted minions. So, there's a decent chance that Serenite Chain Gang will no longer be part of some of the decks that it's in. But the main thing with this nerf is Shudderwalk is gone in Infinite Combo for Standard. It just doesn't work. You don't get infinite 1-mana copies. There's no combo to do that anymore in Standard. In Wild, there is Doppelgangster. So if you want Shudderwock forever and ever and ever, well, you can still do it in Wild. It's not really a big change for Wild because in the next expansion, yeah, the Wild combo is going to go there anyway. So, you wouldn't be able to do that in Standard anyway in the next expansion. So basically, we just fast track that 3-4 months and get Sere Knight nerfed today. So yes, Shudderwock in the Infinite Combo version of Shudderwock is totally dead. I'll just put Shudderwock in my deck because it's absolutely crazy to repeat these battle cries. It's totally alive. And that's pretty fair. It kind of sucks to kill like a combo deck, but the card itself, Shudderwock itself, is still a very strong card. So, not the worst thing in the world there, but certainly good news for many people. A lot of people do not like playing against Shudderwock. Personally, I hate playing against Shudderwock, but I love playing Shudderwock. So, objectively, for the health of the game, this is probably a good change. Last nerf is certainly an interesting one. It is the Leeching Poison. So you won't be able to have a permanent life-stealing Kingsbane in your Kingsbane Rogue. Is that important? Yeah, that's like kind of important. That's one of the biggest deals for Kingsbane. They were able to just, constantly gain health forever and ever to a point where you can only kill them by killing them in one turn or having some kind of crazy like milling their Kingsbane or something. That's never really ever happened consistently at all, right? So this is a huge hit for Kingsbane. There are some considerations. So for one, it's 1 mana. Is that much of a difference? Maybe not really. Is the card totally dead from Kingsbane? I don't think so. I think this will still work with like Doomerang, so you can still get like a double heal in one turn. And the main weakness of Rogue is you don't have any healing. So this is still something that's quite powerful in Rogue. It wouldn't be that good of a Paladin card, but it's still a pretty good Rogue card. And combined with Doomerang, you can double up. So if you have like a 10 attack Kingsbane, you can like, attack with it, and then you can, Doomerang it and, gain like 20 health for 1 mana. That's really good still. That's like a Reno effect for 1 mana. So still really good. But the consistency, the fact that you can't abuse the crap out of healing with your Kingsbane is certainly going to take its toll on Kingsbane Rogue, to a point where I doubt it's even going to be a tier 2 deck, but I think it's still going to be a tier 3 deck. I think if you really love to play Kingsbane, you'll still be able to do that. You're just not going to win as many games as before. Your matchups against aggro decks are going to be crippled, but keep in mind, Odd Paladin is being nerfed, which is like, half of the aggro decks being played right now. So maybe that's not too bad of a thing. I would still not call this card completely dead. There's also some consideration. I have seen some people bring this up. I do not think this is the case, but I will bring this up for the sake of interesting discussion topics at the very least. So getting lifesteal this turn only, that is still kind of like an enchantment. So it's possible that if you use this and then you burn the last charge on your Kingsbane, the first turn of the next time you play Kingsbane, you might still have a heal attached to that weapon. And if that works, you might be able to do that, get like a triple heal off of a Doomerang play. It's possible. I don't think that would change very much. I think Kingsbane Rogue would still be tier 3, even if it does work that way, but I wouldn't count on it working that way. I do not think it will work that way, and I do think Kingsbane Rogue is going to suffer greatly. So those are the nerfs. A few considerations before we go into the predictions segment of the video. This is the first time we have had nerfs so early in an expansion. I love that. Second point, these nerfs are coming out Today. No warning. All right. So people who are in tournaments, they kind of got a little bit screwed. But honestly, people who watch those tournaments are going to love watching those tournaments. It's going to seem like people participating in those tournaments are going to be losers. Some of the players might have the unfortunate side of things, but as a whole, it's certainly going to be a crazy time with how quickly this has been turned over. I love the fact that this is happening overnight. They announced these nerfs, and within hours, they are going live on the servers. Now, I think that's a pretty high-risk move by Blizzard. Blizzard has typically not nerfed things because they don't want noobs who play like one game a week to basically log in, see that the game is different, and then quit. There's a lot of people who play Hearthstone that way. They're not typically the people that watch these videos. They're not typically the people who are allowed on Reddit, but there are a lot of people who do that, and that's why Blizzard has historically, and I mean very consistently over the last 5 years, not nerfed a damn thing in time. This is different. This might be the new version of Hearthstone. I don't know how that will impact the very casual Hearthstone player, but I'm excited about the fact that they're doing this way. I think this is more exciting than like a new expansion coming out. The fact that Blizzard is willing to go in this direction, I feel breathes optimism into any kind of future the game is going to have. The fact that they're like this responsive to possible change within their game is incredible in my mind. Predictions. What's going to happen in the standard meta? So, okay, few things. There are some decks very near the top. Again, if you saw the last video covering the best decks in the game, you know some of those best decks in the game have not been touched whatsoever by these nerfs. So the best deck in the game from that video, Odd Paladin, annihilated. Don't count on that even touching Tier 1 anytime soon. Tier 2 maybe. Even Paladin was a second best deck in the game. Even Paladin's getting a very small nerf through Serenite Chain Gang, but not really. Another consideration is there's just like, maybe a few aggro decks that were able to muscle out Even Paladin. There's going to be fewer of those now. So Even Paladin's probably going to be about as good after the nerfs as it was before the nerfs, which is possibly the best deck in the game. Third best deck in the game, from that video, Death Rattle Hunter. So Death Rattle Hunter, what does it lose from this? Nothing. All it loses is it won't play very many Odd Paladins, which was its worst matchup in the game. So if Death Rattle Hunter has very few bad matchups, and the worst of those bad matchups is Odd Paladin, and no one is playing Odd Paladin, naturally Death Rattle Hunter will move up a lot. Not said in the video yesterday is Even Shaman was a particularly powerful deck, typically cruising 4th, maybe 5th, but very near the top, no less. Very minor nerfs to that deck. Serenite Chain Gang, again, very minor, but once again, that is a very aggressive deck. And it might slip through so to a point that it is possibly the new best aggressive deck, and people will not be considering the fact that there's as many aggressive decks, so they'll be naturally playing decks that are weaker to them. For example, if Death Rattle Hunter doesn't have Odd Paladin as a bad matchup, there's going to be more people playing Death Rattle Hunter. Well, like the next bad matchup for Death Rattle Hunter is Even Shaman. So Even Shaman will naturally get like a meta jump from that happening. So Even Paladin, Death Rattle Hunter, Even Shaman, I think those decks are the winners of these nerfs. Maybe maybe there's other decks out there that get some pretty big swings, and we'll have to see in the next few days what those might be. But those are my predictions. Let's see what happens. Hope you guys are as hyped as I am about these changes, and more importantly, how they happened. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.